Let's just go straight into the truth of Hugh Squires in 9/11. Here's Hugh Squire. You can look at him here on Genetic Hunk on Facebook.com/Genetic Hunk if you want to see his Facebook page. Here's the truth. He was abducted at 4 years old. Just right here, you can read it. French, German, Israel, British, U.S., FBI kidnapped me, killed my twin, stole my name in 1957, widowed 4 times because they murdered his wives. They abducted him as a 4-year-old kid, tortured him in the basement, and it was the governors and the family of five governors and a bunch of musicians that were part of what they did. Treated him as a sex slave for about 30 years, roughly. And he was at the center of 9/11, and because he rose to the top of ASCAP and became a very successful music publisher, his money and fortune and trademarks were all stolen and buried on 9/11. That's why the World Trade Centers were destroyed and why his civil rights case that was being conducted at the Pentagon, the very office where it was being conducted, was destroyed by a missile. So they've been marking him for a long time, and we're just going to stick with the name Hugh today, okay? We're going to try to just connect the media, okay? And there's so much more. I can't even begin to give you all of it, and people won't listen if I take too long. So I'm just going to do it in short little segments, okay? So this will be a short video intentionally, not because there's not a wealth of more information, but I'm only going to give you a little bit of it. Like Caitlin HUEY-Burns. You see these reporters all the time with the names connected to Hugh. And again, I'm not going to go into Anderson Cooper. I've said that on a million other videos and all that, how that marks him and the pedophiles and everything in his life. Let's just stick with the name Huey. Caitlin HUEY-Burns, okay? Well, did they not burn down, in a sense, the World Trade Centers, you know, when the airplanes hit them? Well, yeah. And how many times have they given Hugh something in the mail where even recently he picked it up and it burned his skin? They keep doing this to him years and years later. Okay, this is not a coincidence. They keep with this Huey theme right here. Now here, let's do this first before I get into the 9/11 connection. Remember, he was treated as a sex slave. So you got preparation H, okay? You have HIV. They start with the H on, for a reason, because they're marking Hugh and what they did to him. The drugs, the diseases, so much of the media and the reporters all mark him in different ways. Now here you see George. Oh yeah, well there's HUGH Hefner too. Can't miss that, HUGH Hefner. So you got the Hugh there. And then you got, here we go, George Carlin right here, who, look at the H right there on his shirt. That's not a coincidence. That's because Hugh Squire was his publisher. Do you get that? So he had an H on his shirt. It's telling you that he was, you know, just giving a little praise to Hugh. He was born in 1953. He went to church with Walt Disney, and Walt Disney himself said, "I'll put 1953, the year you were born, on Herbie the Love Bug on the little car." I should have got a picture of Herbie, but I'm sure if you've ever seen the movie Herbie the Love Bug, you'll see the little number 53 on it. Now, isn't this interesting up here? Now, on 9/11. On the morning of 9/11, just before the first plane hit, Matt Lauer was interviewing a man who had written the biography of the aviator Howard Hughes. Okay, so the aviator Howard Hughes, look at this. Here's Howard. Okay, this is a famous aviator from a long time ago. Not going to get into the story itself. But one of those people also was Ava Gardner. Well, Hugh happens to be related to Ava Gardner. He shows it time and time again. In fact, here is his will here, where the Gardner family stole his inheritance and look at the name right here, Margarita Emma Gardner, where they stole his inheritance and replaced the stock with penny stock and gave it to him and stole like $1.5 million from him. That's the nature of these people that are high up in this. They just steal. They're evil people. So he's been marked a million other times, you know, John Hughes right here. Okay. So how much more evidence do you need? Here's Victor Hugo. Okay. There's an obvious 9/11 connection. If you just Google Hugh, who do you get? Oh, here, we'll try it. Watch, I'll show you. You always get the same thing. HUGH Jackman always shows right up first. Yep, right here. See, HUGH Jackman. Okay, who's the most one of the most known actors right now? Well, HUGH Jackman. You have Huey Lewis and the News, who was introduced, I think, by, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember his story right, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll put it in the notes to you, but I believe they were introduced by, oh, who's that pervert? The guy who's a judge on American Idol sometimes. Gosh, I forgot his name all of a sudden. The guy, the Jewish guy with the big afro hair that judges on American Idol that did the radio show. I'm pretty sure he's the one that originally introduced Huey Lewis in the News. Not by coincidence. If I may be mistaken on that one. You have people like HUGH Grant. And why was there a HUGH Grant? Well, Hugh Squire tells me that HUGH Grant existed because Hugh used to give out the grants for the ASCAP. You're like, okay, well, what the heck is ASCAP? So I'll just Google it real quick, because otherwise you'll just, if you're ignorant to this, you won't even know. Welcome to ASCAP. Well, it's the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers. It's in New York City, and that's, not too far, from where that big blackout was a few years ago. So let's see. Then you have, oh, look at this. Recently, you just want to see another way that they mark Hugh. They mark him in murders. We could do a murder every single day that marks Hugh. And if you just watch his page, okay, you'll see a new murder every single day. But let's see, where did I put that murder right here? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot about this. The Game of Thrones. Look at this. Yeah, the Game of Thrones. Hugh served as Lord John Arryn's squire. You think that's a coincidence? It is not a coincidence. It's also why Harry Potter, the head warlock is squires. Okay, you can see it real big. Let's see. Where did I put that other story about the murder? Oh, let's see. I might not have saved it, so I will just Google it real quick. Let's do HUEY Hudson from South Bend. This is just a recent murder. So, yeah, here it is. Look, HUEY Hudson. The Hugh twice. Okay, from South Bend, Indiana. Okay, the same place where who have we been who's Hugh been exposing like crazy? In the videos, and talking about, oh yeah, it's Peter Buttigieg from South Bend, and so they mark him, and they're okay, we'll kill somebody over there to tell you to stop talking about it. And that's what's going on. And when did it happen? Oh, on 1/27, 1/27, like World Trade Centers 1/27. That's not a coincidence, folks. Okay. And by the way, Indiana, South Bend, Indiana is not too far from Squire Caverns, by the way, interestingly enough. So, and they do this all the time. Okay, so if you got a reporter, HUGH Hewitt from Washington Post, failed to mention him. Well, there was in Oregon a business called HUGH Kills that existed for a short time. And then as I'm talking to HUGH, the internet has literally changed, and you can no longer Google it. He had just Googled it, showed me, and then when I try to Google it, it doesn't exist anymore. That's how much they monitor and pay attention to what he does. It's insane. So hopefully this helps you get a connection a little bit to publishers, helps you connect between publishers and 9/11 and the music industry, and how they buried him and buried the theft of Bottom Line, and they continue to mark him in every way possible in the news, music industry today, and in murders. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.